Joining us live from Melbourne, and Caroline DeRusso, the Sky News host, is back home in Perth. Good to speak to both of you. Gemma, you've shifted from Perth to Melbourne since last we spoke. Did you get an upgrade?
Well, I wouldn't call it that. making my way home to the great state of New South Wales via Melbourne and a visit to my favourite nephew. You know,
I'm wondering if you got an upgrade on the flight across.
Oh, I certainly did not. And fun fact, Chris, I did ask for it. Didn't get it.
Yeah, I've tried a few times to buy it with my points or whatever. It's never come through. Caroline, are you surprised the opposition didn't pursue this in question time in federal parliament today?
Oh, there was plenty on today, actually, and I did actually catch a chunk of question time, which is probably there's a few people watching this now is like, does she not have anything better to do during the middle of the day? I did catch some of it. I think there was definitely a focus on the announcement from yesterday in relation to help fees or HEX fees. I used to call them HEX in the grand old days, and also in relation to cost of living and that whole household recession point that you made a bit earlier in the show. I would say that those are more critical issues for everyday voters than necessarily the upgrade issue. There has been a lot of that conversation. I expect there may very well be more. Jason Clare's admission over the weekend was very interesting, but I think that the voters do want their pollies focused on the issues that are more relevant to them, and that is definitely cost of living and whatever's happening with help fees.
Yeah, I would have chucked something in there as well after doing the cost of living stuff. Here's Jason Clare. Let's have a look at him. His embarrassing admission on Sky News yesterday.
That was a personal trip. And that was a situation where I had just got out of hospital. I had surgery on my leg, and yep, I asked for an upgrade. I was assisted by Qantas.
Yes, surgery on the always the heart-rending plea for understanding. Always, he was happy enough to go on his trip, his personal trip, but the operation meant he had to ask for the upgrade. He got it, Gemma. He got it for free. Now he was a shadow minister then, not a minister. But you can't go around asking for gifts. This is terrible for him. And I'm not pretending that we won't see similar admissions in the future from coalition MPs, but it's terrible for him, Gemma, and it only highlights why we still haven't seen a flat-out denial of any requests through his office from Albanese.
100%, Chris. And just picking up on Caro's point earlier about the fact that, look, surely there are other things, or not surely, but there are definitely other things that the electorate is concerned about. But the context in which this is all playing out simply amplifies the problem for this government, that it's forgotten, or perhaps it never actually realised that this isn't a game. Perhaps it came into, and you and I can guess about these things, but perhaps it came into office 2.5 years ago thinking we are so far in the clear, we actually don't have to care about perceptions. But when things are as tough for everyday families as they are, and you've got absolute tone deafness from the government of the day, that I might add is telling you, me and everyone else around us that we can't drive petrol cars anymore, we can't heat our homes, that $230 or $250 reduction to your power bill we were going to give you, sorry about that, we've given you a 30 to 40% uptick in your power bills instead. This government is tone deaf, and it's not a political statement, Chris. This is simply a fact of the matter. And Jason Clare had a bung leg from a surgery. Well, cry me a river, mate. Stay home if you can't travel.
Oh dear. Now, of course, Caroline, you mentioned this HEX deal. This is blatant electioneering. We're 6 months out from an election. They should be governing. They could do this if they want to. They'd have to budget for it and announce it and pass it through Parliament. Instead, they've put it out there already as an election promise. You only get this, and they only do it if they get re-elected. And have a look at this, more of that speech in Adelaide yesterday. It just reeks of election campaigning.
Building on the strong foundations we have laid, building together, building to last, our Labor government building Australia's future.
Yeah, Albo is Bob the Builder, Caroline. Your role with the Liberals there in Western Australia, you'll be on election alert. You'll be expecting it possibly as early as March. I keep hearing April the 12th is a very likely date.
And just listening to Albo there, it's like he doesn't even believe his own BS. He's like, I know I have to read this, but there's this shallow shrillness to his voice. He's trying to project to make him sound really confident, and he just actually sounds really rattled, which is my takeaway from that. Well, we've got a state election here on the 8th of March. So for us here in WA, chance of having two elections very, very close to each other. And kudos to Stephen Hamilton, actually, for an absolute belter of a piece in the AFR on this precise issue. And he makes the point in his article that what actually this whole announcement is about is trying to transfer votes from the Greens back to Labor.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think he's absolutely right on that.
Yep.
This here is not about the middle. And we know that in Australia that elections are won at the middle, but Labor is more focused on its left flank and trying to bring some of that back from the Greens. So, this year is at a cost of about 11 billion. And yes, some people will be tempted by this, no doubt.
Yeah,
but obviously, if you're not paying for it now, they will be paying for it in future generations. And the middle, plenty of whom have not had the privilege of going to university, will be paying for this instead. So I'm not sure it really hits those fairness notes.
Gemma, a couple of issues that I want to focus and see if you can get to wrap up as we run out of time. One is we've read that Lifeline are getting more calls than ever as the cost of living pressure really exacerbates people's personal turmoil, and they reach out to Lifeline for help. And on top of that, with all these pressures on housing and the rest of it, and we know that immigration's been running out of control, the number of foreign students coming into the country has been out of control. We learned on the weekend that 120,000 people have come into the country as family reunion partners, effectively, of people who are here as foreign students. So you come in as a foreign student, then you bring in your family, and then you all try to stay here forever. This is immigration out of control.
Well, it's a lazy government that's lost track of what's going on and it's taken its eye off the ball. And you can't sort of help wonder how much of this is electorally driven. And I made my point in my weekend column just gone, Chris, about needing people in Parliament who have real life experience, not just political experience. And it goes both ways. But let's talk about the mob who are in charge right now. Less union, being a union member and being an academic or a staffer of any persuasion does not prepare you for life in politics, when life in politics should be about public service. Yep. Greater reform is for the greater good. Where are the leaders? Where are the leaders full stop in this government? This is an appalling indictment on the fact that either they are economically illiterate or they don't care, not sure which is worse, but they are not making decisions in the best interests of this country. And I don't think the electorate is as stupid as they are treating it.
Yeah. We're not seeing policies that are obviously aimed at improving the country. We're seeing policies that are aimed at picking off cohorts of voters. It's so transparent. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it greatly, Caroline and Gemma. We'll catch you next week.